Right. Awesome. Thank you so much. So this morning, I have a very interesting topic that is going to be really of significance for our women and our children in particular. So we're
Mm-hmm.
still talking about minerals, but
Uh-huh.
this mineral we're going to talk about is one that is quite confusing to many, and that's the mineral called iron.
Uh-huh.
Iron. All right. So let me go to the very beginning here, and we're going to talk about that mineral. Let me just make it bigger. Awesome. All right. So iron, it is found in our red cells in the hemoglobin. That's what helps carry the oxygen. It's also found in our muscles and our liver. It is, though, the most common nutrient deficiency of early childhood in this country. It's not protein, it's not carbs deficiency, it's iron deficiency that we see in our kids. And 10% of toddlers can have iron deficiency. That's because one, the cow's milk and mother's breast milk is very low in iron. So many children who are being given lots of milk, they're not getting iron from that source. And often, too, the diet of our children is not well rounded, and so they don't get the iron that they need. Others who are at risk for iron deficiency would be preschool and adolescent children or adolescent, youth, women of childbearing age, because that is a time of menstruation, a loss of blood and iron, and pregnant women, especially 2 to 3 months after they've delivered, they're still iron deficient. Now, some folks may say, well, this group of individuals probably could take iron supplements, and if they wanted to, they could. It's over the counter. You can get iron quite easily, and it's also by prescription. And there are different forms. There's iron sulfate, and it's called ferrous sulfate and ferrous gluconate. That's iron. But I'd have to warn you that these supplements have side effects. They're not always easy to take. Many times my patients will come back and tell me, I'm so constipated, this iron is really binding me up, and it can do that. It can also
Mm.
make you nauseous. And so we say take it with a meal or right after a meal so you can tolerate it better. And you may be surprised your stool can become black. And that can be frightening, but iron blackens or darkens stool. You cannot take iron in large doses. It can be fatal. So 1 to 2 tablets a day, or only if you need a high prescription by your doctor who's monitoring you. But you shouldn't take lots of iron pills every day. And it is, unfortunately, one of those sources of poisoning in children. So if they find your pills and they take it, and they happen to be iron pills, if they take too many of them, it can be quite dangerous in children, especially young children. Now, I remember last time you had mentioned your mom cooking in cast iron pots, Pastor.
Yeah.
And, this is an excellent way to increase iron in our foods. These pots, they look old fashioned to some. Everybody wants to get, a fancier, shinier type pot, but these pots are really good. These cast iron pots, they allow the food to kind of pick up some of the iron, and the longer the food stays in there, simmering in these cast iron pots, the higher the content of iron in these foods. So it's certainly an investment if you don't have one in your home yet. With iron, the real key is how to absorb more of it. And so I'm going to share with you ways to increase absorption of iron. You increase iron absorption when you have vitamin C with your meal. So, for example, there's iron
Mm.
in oatmeal, believe it or not. And when you have oranges or orange juice with your oatmeal, that helps increase the iron absorption. Also, we need hydrochloric acid in the stomach to help absorb iron. And so, when you think of it, if you're on acid suppressants, which so many people are on, You're not going to absorb your iron well. So keep that in mind when you're trying to consider how to increase your iron and you're trying to treat your anemia and you're on acid blockers. You're actually
Mm.
decreasing how much iron you can get into your system. Also, tannin acid, which is found in tea. You know, some folks, they love to drink green tea because they have heard of all these wonderful benefits of green tea, but teas have an acid called tannin that decreases iron absorption. So you need to be aware of that. Soda and coffee limit iron absorption. Also, we know that soda is not good for us. I've tried to bring this home many times. Soda should not be a part of our diet for many reasons. Not only does it decrease iron absorption, but it decreases calcium. It excretes calcium. The phosphorus in soda binds to calcium, and you lose calcium when you drink lots of soda. And so if you have soft bones, osteoporosis, soda is a no-no. Also, the high sugar, the high fructose corn syrup in the soda is detrimental. It leads to so many illnesses, you know, diabetes, obesity, and it's bad news for our children. Okay, what else hinders iron absorption? Phytic acid in
I'm just
grains.
curious. I'm
Yes.
just curious, Doc, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
So you have tea, soda, and coffee, and you spent a moment on soda and nothing on coffee. Are you
Oh,
telling me that soda is worse than coffee?
no, no. Well, well, you know, soda might be worse than coffee. Soda is
Okay.
really evil. Oh boy, soda
All
is
right.
horrible. But you know, coffee, yes, I'm sorry. I should have mentioned coffee a little bit more. Because there's a lot of controversy around caffeine and
Yeah.
coffee. The issue with coffee is the caffeine in there, and
Hmm.
you know, caffeine is they have studies saying caffeine is great for your brain, and there are studies that say that caffeine actually worsens your sleep. Caffeine
Hmm.
inhibits melatonin, the hormone that you need to sleep well. And so when you're drinking coffee to stay awake, just know that you're not going to sleep because your melatonin is being destroyed, and also it's an unnatural stimulant. So coffee I don't recommend it. It's not necessarily a health food. The caffeine in coffee is not good for you. And so if we want energy, there are lots of natural ways to get more energy. One of them is just drinking more water. Just drinking more water will give you energy. That's an energy drink right there. And eating a plant-based diet, that will
So
energize you.
I'm curious. So what does coffee do to inhibit the absorption of iron? That's kind of what I was trying to get.
Okay, sure. So it has this acid called tannic acid in there. And
Oh, I see.
yes, and that
Hmm. That's
is
the
what
issue.
inhibits the absorption of iron. And that's found in
Hmm.
teas, like your green teas, soda,
Hmm.
and coffee.
I got you.
Yes. Also, phytic acid, which is found in grain, does decrease iron absorption. But as we'll discuss later, plant foods have so much more iron in them than, let's say, meats, that we are able to absorb some iron. The phytic acid doesn't completely stop, you know, you from getting iron from your grains.
Hmm.
Also, excess phosphorus. You know where you find phosphorus? In meats. Phosphorus is very prevalent in meat, fish, and eggs, and that can limit how much iron you absorb. And also, the
Hmm.
inorganic form of iron is not absorbed as well, and that's the form you find in plants. So I need to take a, some time here to talk about the type of iron in plants versus meat, because there's a huge misconception um, in the medical world, the general population, that if you want iron, you have to eat meat. You know, if you're anemic, you have to go to meat. When I was pregnant, my 4 pregnancies, I would show evidence of anemia on my blood work, in my blood work. And my OB, who is great, you know, I have great OBs, I love them, but my OB would always tell me, well, you know, you probably want to take some iron supplements. And I was like, no, I don't want iron supplements. Then she's like, well, then I think you should eat some red meat. And I was like, no, no, there's no way I'm going to eat red meat for iron, because that is totally not necessary. And she didn't understand what I was saying, but I'm going to explain it to you today and see if you can follow the logic as to why you don't need red meat to get iron. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so iron comes in two forms. You have the non-heme called inorganic, and you have the heme called organic iron. The non-heme is the kind you find in plants. Many plants have non-heme iron. You also find it in meat
Mm-hmm.
though. So meat has both forms. And then the heme form of iron is found in meats. Now, both types of iron are difficult to absorb. Iron is not easily absorbed by the body, but I'm going to break it down so you can see the percentages of how much we do absorb based on the type of food. When you eat veggies, you absorb about 10% of the iron. When you eat fish, about 15% of that iron is absorbed. Soybeans and soybean derivatives do give you more. You do absorb more when you have your tofus, your soy milk, and your soybeans, your edamame. 20% is absorbed. And meat and iron is absorbed by about 30%. So yes, there is no arguing that the iron found in meats is more easily absorbed than the type found in plants. However, once this iron is absorbed, the body doesn't look at them different. It doesn't say, oh, you're heme and you're non-heme. It just says, oh, you're iron. Let's get to work. So once the iron gets through your GI tract, they both function the same. So the issue is here, how to get it through your GI tract. How do you absorb more? Not that one is better. The iron in meat is not a better quality by any means. Don't let anybody tell you that. It's not a better iron. The body looks at them the same, but it's just how do you get it through your GI tract? The good news is that plants have 5 to 6 times more iron than meat. If you look at a piece of steak and a big bowl of spinach or kale or oats, those have a lot more iron than the steak. So if you eat a good amount of plant foods, don't just eat a little piece of kale or a little bit of oats, have a good amount, on a regular basis. And then if you are not taking antacids to suppress the acid in your stomach, and if you're not drinking soda and coffee and green tea to limit the iron, then you are going to naturally increase the absorption of iron through your GI tract, and you will have the iron that you need to do well. So this is a big source of confusion for plant-based eaters and for everybody. They're like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
anemic, I need iron. Oh, let me go back to eat a piece of steak. No, no, don't give in to the confusion. Don't give in to the misconception that you need to go back to fish or you need to go back to beef to get iron. This happens every day amongst young women. They get so confused. You
Uh,
just need to increase the amount of iron-rich plant foods and avoid the things we spoke about before. And that will help
I
you.
see. So somebody's asking about molasses. They take molasses. Does that
Yeah.
help with the iron, or is that a good
That
idea?
that is a very educated listener. And yes, blackstrap molasses have one of the highest sources in the plant kingdom of iron. Blackstrap molasses. And so if you have any iron deficiencies, you want to include that in your diet every day. And we're going to
Mm-hmm.
talk more about blackstrap molasses in maybe a slide or two. Um,
I
I,
see.
I told you this before, what iron is important, and I should have put this slide way ahead. It helps with oxygen, it helps to release energy, and it makes muscle. So that was in the wrong place. But iron, the recommended daily amount for men is less than women. Women need about 18 milligrams. If you're pregnant, they need about 30 milligrams. And one of the best sources, like the listener just asked, is blackstrap molasses unsulfured. That's the kind you want, blackstrap molasses. And if you take 2 tablespoons every day, you get at least half of the RDA, because 5 tablespoons is about 18 milligrams, which is what women need. So if you take,
Mm-hmm.
about 2 tablespoons every day and you're eating lots of greens, you're having adequate nuts and grains and legumes and raisins, you are increasing your iron intake. You see here the excellent foods for iron. We said grains, nuts, legumes, raisins, green leafies, potatoes have good iron too. Potatoes are an excellent food, and lentils. And so I have a nice little iron concoction here. People love concoctions. And so you can try this one and see how, and it tastes great. You can see how it works for you. You can take 1 gallon of grape juice, and you're going to be careful about the grape juice that you get. You're not going to get grape juice sweetened with
with
high
too much
fructose
sugar.
corn. Yeah, yeah, you don't want that. You want to have, a natural, really rich, healthy source of grape juice. And to that, you can add 1/3 cup of apricots. Apricots are also high in iron, and they have vitamin C, which we spoke about before. You want vitamin C to help with the absorption of iron. So that's in the concoction here. 1/3 cup of figs. If you don't have the figs, don't worry. You don't always find figs in the store. You may find them at a fancier health food store, but if you don't have it, that's okay. But figs are excellent in nutrition quality. And then a cup of blackstrap molasses with 1/3 cup of raisins. Remember, raisins are very high in iron. And you can put this in in a container and let it stay for about 24 hours to get nice and rich and just mellow together. And then you can have about 4 ounces 3 times a day of this. And this is really good, healthy iron supplement that you can take every single day. You can give it to your kids without any big concerns, um, and it tastes really great. They will enjoy it. So iron deficiency is a significant problem, and when you're deficient, I didn't speak about that, you're gonna feel tired, weak, dragging, and dizzy. And so you really want to use your food as medicine. Use your food to get the iron in. And you need to know what foods, which we spoke about, have the iron, and how to increase the absorption. That is the key with many of these minerals and vitamins. How do you increase the absorption so that you can use it in your system adequately? And so
So now, what
that's.
is?
Mhm.
I'm just curious why iron for women and children. And I noticed you didn't make a distinction between male and female children, but I've heard zinc for men, iron for women. What is it about our bodies that requires these differences?
Yeah, sure, sure. So with women, so in childhood, boys and girls can be equally iron deficient. And so
Hmm.
they both need adequate amount of iron. The babies are born with a supply of iron that would last about 6 months. And so by the 6-month mark, they need to start getting some kind of foods with iron. Some individuals may decide to get cereals because at that time they can start having cereals, rice cereals, oat cereal. Some folks may want to get iron supplemented cereals, and they can use that for their children. But honestly, I've never been one to be much into processed type food, so I never bought any cereals from the store to give to my kids. I just began giving them um, mashed up potatoes, mashed up beans, and these foods have iron. And then, so for boys and girls, find ways to get iron-rich foods into their body. They need more plants, they need more potatoes, they need more natural plant foods to get adequate iron. They don't need to be given lots of meat and fish to get iron. That's not the best choice as far as I'm concerned for health. So boys and girls, the same for iron. When it comes to men and women now, remember that with women, we are constantly, during our childbearing years, we are having significant menstruation. And with that loss of blood, we are losing lots of iron. And men don't have to even think about that, and they'll never have any idea what that's like. But during that time, we can be very weak, iron deficient, and dragging. and it's a very common issue with young women especially. And then during pregnancy, the baby is taking its own iron from you, trying to, make its little body there. And so women are at that, are more needing of increased iron because of the issue of childbirth, reproductive functions, and what it entails to keep that going. So that is why it's different between men and women, but not necessarily boys and girls. And then for
I
men,
see.
zinc, zinc is a popular one because zinc is important to help keep healthy prostate and testes. It's a very key mineral for male reproductive health, for those organs there. And so I think I need to talk about zinc on Wednesday because, iron for women, like you said, zinc for men. Men need to know how to keep
Hmm.
their reproductive organs healthy and how zinc can come into play. So we'll talk about zinc on Wednesday.
Awesome. All right. So is that we're all done?
Yes, we're all
Oh,
set. Unless there are any questions from the audience, but
let me
certainly
look and see.
I
I
want
see.
to, drive home the point that God created us and he knows the best diet for us. And the plants are the foods he's given to us to be healthy and well. And so we don't need to feel that the plants are deficient in important things like iron, which we know is so important for us to have energy and vitality and strength. Iron is in the plants, and we can get enough iron just on a plant-based diet.